Pretty. Brown. Pretty. Oh boy.
Hey, what is up, YouTube? And welcome back to my channel. This is none other than your favorite butch queen, Neptune Luciano, and I'm back with yet another special edition to my series of 30 Days of Pride. So if you guys tuned into my first day, yesterday, I discussed what Pride meant to me and a couple of traditions that I have for Pride, and dropped a little couple of jewels from my, my LGBTQ youth out there. So today I was just thinking like, well, what the fuck am I gonna talk about? And I'm honestly not really planning this out. I have ideas that I've thrown out there, certain topics that I do want to talk about, and things that are, more serious, things that are less serious, and things of that nature. But I'm really just going based on how I feel when I wake up, what I kind of go throughout my day to kind of help me, and be inspired to be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to talk about this. So forgive me if I put out the video for day one. Actually, I edited it and put it out like this afternoon. That was actually like out on day 2. So day 2 is actually gonna come out on day 3. So it's kind of like a day behind in a sense, and hopefully I'll catch up. But I kind of like it being like this because, like I said, I'm going throughout my day, and experiences just within the day. It reminds me like, you know what? Oh, this would be good to talk about. Or, I want to hit on this, So instead of just planning it out like, okay, this day is going to be this, that day is going to be that, I'm kind of going by a more organic approach. So if you are joining me tonight, right now it's like 2 a.m. I'm just getting home from work. So this is like a different like feel, a different vibe, a little more chill, a little more just like, on that sort of tip, so I got a little chill mix in the background, you know what I mean, like, and I'm just, I have different wavelengths to me, like, I'm all about energy, and, hopefully you guys can, like, vibe with that, because I'm not gonna get on here on YouTube and every video be like, hey, so I am here, and nah, that's not me. Like, I'm just a real cool ass bitch. Like, when I'm mad, I'm mad. When I'm, not feeling it, I'm not feeling it. When I'm chill, I'm chill. When I'm like hype on 100, I'm hype on 100. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna get on here and try to sell y'all no type of character. I'm giving y'all like me, bitch. Like, if we was hanging, if we was chilling, if we was, you know what I'm saying? It's not always gonna give that and that. You know what I mean? So. But yeah, so without further ado, let's jump right into it. What I want to talk about today is basically labels. Labels of genders and pronouns, and I always get asked the age-old question. People, either when they work with me, sometimes people ask when they first meet me, but once certain people wait until they get comfortable and feel me out, and then they hit me up with the, can I ask you a personal question? And I'm always like, okay. Like, I've always considered myself to be a pretty open book, and then they ask, what are your preferred pronouns? What do you like to be called? Him, her, she, Mr., Miss, and it has taken me a while to try to figure out, what do I have a preference? What do I like to be called? And just figure out everything. And I guess it would start to, I always like to explain it, I don't have a preference. And the reason I don't have a preference is, I guess, just the way that I feel like I'm classified. Like, I used to say, oh, I'm gender non-conforming. I'm gender non-conforming. Yes, I am gender non-conforming. And I guess a lot of people, like, to figure out what that means on the spectrum, to my understanding, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, or for any other gender non-conforming people that are out there, or anybody from the community that's out there, Feel free to jump in there and tell me what you think, or if I'm mislabeling things, because I'm not the best with a lot of these terms. Some of the terms are new to me. I'm like a little old school. I'm from an older generation, so it's not that like I am not accepting of the terms. I just don't politically know like all the correct, you know, labels of everything. So, but from my understanding, gender nonconforming, it's more to do with the aesthetic, I think. So like how you dress, like me being born male, you know, I'm not just gonna be like rocking suits and Timbs, you know. I wanna wear a heel and I wanna wear a skirt, and you know, that's gender non-conforming, and I might, you know, wear a little makeup, or I might do, you know, and not be tied to feeling like I have to aesthetically represent a male. You know what I mean? But I feel as though the gender non-conforming, mentally and emotionally and all of that other stuff, you are still very much in tune to know what you were born as, and you stick with that. Yeah, like I think it's just more of an aesthetic thing. And then I moved on to kind of feeling like, okay, am I queer? What is queer? And like sometimes when I see it represented, that kind of looks like gender non-conforming, like, but I'm honestly, I'm not for sure, like, and then a lot of people always ask me, you know, oh, have you ever considered becoming transitioning? And the answer is yes, I have considered transitioning, considered it many times, and the closest time that I've actually been to like transitioning was like 2008. It's when I was like really heavily participating in the ballroom scene, and I was just like, I'm gonna do it. Not because anybody was pressuring me or anything like that, because that is something that is really, you know, could be relevant in our community, but it was because I got to meet resources and connect with certain role models that I was just like, yo, like, they're inspirational to make me wanna, you know, be like, oh, I could do this, you know? And I was like literally supposed to go meet with somebody to go ahead and get some moans and start, and you know, I wasn't gonna tell nobody as far as from like my family. I was just gonna kind of like, you know, just start the process, bitch, and just show up at the family reunion like, bitch, what? Like, a bitch is here, you know what I mean? And the only thing that stopped me from transitioning was I had booked my first tour with Disney, and it was performing with High School Musical 2, and like I booked it, and we still had a while before. I booked it like in the spring, and we didn't start rehearsals until like the fall. And I was like, you know, during the summer is when this started building up. And then once fall came, then fall was actually, our rehearsal started on my birthday. So I started rehearsing. And then once it came time for us to leave, it was like right in that time that I was like supposed to start, get my shit, you know, get my little moans, take it with me on the road. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, what if I get on, like, I'm gonna be on the road, yes, with castmates, but I didn't know anybody from my cast prior. I'm like, what if I have a reaction to these moans? What if my voice starts changing soon? What if it gets weak? What if I won't be able to sing? What if it makes me like tired? What if I pass out? Who can I talk to about it? Like, I began to feel like overwhelmed, like it may be too much for me to handle trying to do it on the road, you know, or around people that I don't know, that I don't know how they feel about trans. It's just a lot. You're talking about 11 years ago. So even 11 years ago might not seem like that much, but trans are a lot more visible now than they were then. You know what I mean? Even within that just a decade. So because of that, and I felt like, you know, I didn't want to feel like I was having to choose or sacrifice or put in danger my career to do this. And it wasn't something that I just thought about just that summer. It had been something I had been thinking about throughout life for a while. Like, even to give you like a quick little story, like when I was a kid, I had to have been like no more than 10 years old. And I remember I was over one of my aunt's house, my Aunt Barbara. And at my Aunt Barbara, I had probably like, what, 5 cousins, majority girls and 1 boy. And, you know, I was hanging out with my cousins, and I think they might have been babysitting like other family members. So the house was packed. And my dad came in and he was like, oh, it's time to go, you know, and, you know, he was waiting for me as I was like getting my stuff together. And I was talking to one of my family members who I had been playing with, and I was like, you know what? I was like, I wish I was a girl. And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I wish I was a girl. Like, and I said something, like, being little, being young, I was like, I wish I was a girl, because girls, like, I said something like, they have the fun toys, and, like, they never get cold, and, like, I was saying something, like, really, like, little kid shit, but I was like, I wish I was born a girl. Like, I wish I was a girl. I said it, like, flat out. My dad, you know, when he said it was time to go, he had been, like, waiting a little bit, like, outside of the room, you know, still talking to my aunt and relatives and stuff, and he happened to overhear me, and he was like, what did you say? Like, and he like kind of like cursed me out right then and there, you know, like, boy, don't be saying no stupid ass shit, bring your ass up, like some shit like that, right? Then once we got in the car, and I think we went to pick my mom up from work or something, like, we was all riding home, he went in, bitch. Like, he didn't like whoop me per se, but the nigga did threaten me. Like, he was like, can you believe what this motherfucker said? Like, his ass said some shit. Like, bitch, when I tell you, I was like, and it didn't register to me like that it was that serious, you know what I mean? Like, or that even it was a possibility. Like, it was just something that I said, like, as a kid, like, okay, I wish I was. Like, okay, so what? Like, we move on. Like, you know what I mean? Fast forward to today, like, just to know that it could be, if I wanted it to be, is something that's just like, it blows my mind to me. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I had been considering it, whether or not if it was subconsciously or consciously, forever, like my entire life, you know. But like I said, like, I chose my career. I didn't want to put that in jeopardy at that time. And after that tour, and after doing other gigs, and kind of like slowing down, like, in performing, and where I was just like, you know, kind of doing the bartending and cake decorating and having different jobs, like, you know, and just kind of, I don't want to say living the 9-to-5 life, but, you know, just doing that sort of hustle, it became, I had more time on my hands in a sense to kind of think, because I was just in one place. I wasn't touring. I wasn't, you know, that aspect of what I was scared to sacrifice wasn't really like on the forefront anymore. And so, like, I started asking myself, you know, did I miss my time? Was it like, you know, have I answered all the questions that I need to answer, and all of that? So I started to ask myself, you know, what would I be doing it for? Would I be doing it for the right reasons? You know what I mean? Like, am I just doing it just to get, like, attention from certain guys? And because I even reached a point where when it came to gay guys, like, I wasn't attracted to them. Like, what? Like, niggas be mad corny, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it wasn't about them being flamboyant or anything. It was just like, dudes try too hard to be masculine. I feel like they never were really masculine, you know what I mean? So, and they wouldn't be themselves, so I'm like, you know, and I feel like they would be so judgmental towards somebody that's not like really masculine. So I'm like, why am I gonna try to change for them? Like, why don't I just change the other way and, you know, find guys that are straight, you know what I'm saying, versus changing for a gay dude who I think is like flamboyant as fuck no matter how masculine they think they are, you know? But after kind of going back and forth with that, I started to ask myself, like, what if I met, you know, a guy that was just like, look, I don't care how film you are, I like you, this, and the third, like, would I feel the need to transition? You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, like, you know, I had to do self-discovery to, you know, really tell yourself that, or tell myself that, you know, it's to do it for yourself if you're gonna do it, you know? So, I don't know, I just always told myself that, oh, you've gotten too old, and then you see like a Caitlyn Jenner and stuff like that, and you're like, okay. But you know, when you think about transitioning, not only for your body, and I think it is better to do it the younger you are, you know, for like obvious, you know, bio reasons, you know, how your body is gonna react to it and going through puberty and X, Y, and Z. But a bitch wants to be in their prime. You know what I'm saying? Like, a bitch wants to get that life that they would get in their prime. But I would say that, you know, when doing my research on trans, certain trans women and their experiences and, you know, how they view their bodies before they transition and all of that, and I'm just like, I don't think I'm trans. It's not so clear cut and dry. I mean, I've come to the conclusion as of now that I wouldn't even say that I'm non-binary, because from what I gather from non-binary people is that they don't identify with men or women, and they often like to be referred to as they. So that one is interesting to me. Like, I mean, I've had to fill out things before for performing, and they ask, oh, are you non-binary? And I just say, yeah, because, like, it's kind of like the easiest thing, I guess, for people to try to understand, because I know it's, like, a lot, especially if you're not a part of the community, to try to understand, you know, what are all of these labels. But I would honestly say that I'm two-spirited, and that's something that the Native Americans used to use, and it was beings that were celebrated. When I say beings, I mean like human beings, like not like gods from a book, but human beings that were celebrated in their culture that were mixed men and female in a sense. So whatever their gender was that they were born, maybe if they were born a male, that they may dress as a woman on occasions because they could understand spiritually a woman. Like, so they never gave up, you know, even when they dressed as a woman, they never felt like, oh, now I'm 100% woman. They had two minds, two spirits that lived in harmony within themselves and, you know, worked together and all of that nature. I don't want to say sometimes I feel like a nut and sometimes I don't, you know what I'm saying? But if you have to look at it like that way, then I guess that analogy helps. But I've always been the type that I could appreciate my masculinity in certain ways, but I love my femininity in other ways. And there's certain power that, no shade, there's certain power that the dick has. You know what I'm saying? And if you have it and you use it, bitch, that's a certain power that you just don't want to give up. You know what I'm saying? And then there's a certain power about like femininity and like the sensualness and all of that. And I can honestly appreciate both, and I feel like both of them really does live in me. So that term I try to tell people, and sometimes people, they are familiar with that, sometimes they aren't, and I don't know, you know, if people really use it in circulation anymore. Like, I really don't see it, you know, within our community or anything like that. But I like to say that I'm two-spirited. So if you ever meet me and you ever wonder, oh, what is he? Or like, or you might think a bitch might look okay, you know what I'm saying? And you might be like, well, what is this bitch like? I'm two-spirited. I am two-spirited. I acknowledge what I think is the essence of a woman, what makes a woman, and all of that, and I acknowledge what makes a man, and all of that, and I'm literally both. Like, you know what I'm saying? I've always said I feel like I am the perfect blend of masculinity and femininity, and that's how I react to things. That's how I handle certain situations. That's how I process things. That's how I fight. That's how I maneuver. That's how I'm, like, all of that, you know? So, and I say all that to say, to get to, you know, what I like to be called, what are my pronouns, I don't have a preference for that reason, you know? And I feel as though being two-spirited, you know, whatever your perspective is, you can see certain things that are done by people and think, oh, that's feminine, or that's masculine, or whatever. But, you know, because I'm comfortable in my own skin, and I identify with both, whatever you feel like, whatever energy that I'm exuding to you, and you feel like, oh, he's giving me a little masculine energy, and you feel like, oh, this bitch is giving me cunt to the cunt, bitch, like, she is fish, so she's giving me, like, that's fine. Like, I'm comfortable in my own skin to appreciate both. I'm both of them. I'm both of them. You know what I mean? Because I feel as though at the end of the day that I could decipher if someone is trying to come for me maliciously, or, you know, be degrading on how they address me. So either or, I would catch it. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, that's my long but short story on what I like to be called, and, you know, my journey as an insight as far as people wondering, have I ever considered transitioning and all of that, and, you know, and it's even more to that as far as weighing options and things of that nature. But I always used to joke around and say, like, especially once our stupid ass president got into office, I was like, well, shit, if I ain't started transitioning by now, you think I'm about to start now and have this nigga fuck me up, where I don't have medical coverage and I'm walking around with one titty and shit? No, ma'am. Nah. Nah. But yeah, but gender is an interesting thing, and I hope that one day we will start to have so many labels that we will actually get tired of having all of these labels. You know what I mean? Like, and we will just be like, you know what? Fuck labels. Human beings are human beings, bitch. Like, and if you like somebody and you're attracted to them, go be with them. Like, you know, if you know, you would judge people by their heart and how they make you feel, and, you know what I mean, rather than, like, what are you? You're top, you're bottom, you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that, you like that, you like, fuck all of that. That is too difficult. Like, and a lot of these people that, you know, are quick to throw out all of these labels of what they are or what they like or what they don't like are completely different when the fucking lights go off. You know what I mean? So let me know in the comments, like, how do y'all, my non-binaries and my gender non-conforming, and anybody that has gone through a path to try to figure out where you fit in on the LGBTQ spectrum, like, put in the comments, like, what was that like for y'all? Like, what was that defining factor that made you be like, you know what, I'm not this, I'm actually that. Are you still figuring it out, you know? So, and do y'all agree, like, would y'all have a problem with, what if we just scrap these fucking labels and be like, just live your life, like, just live your life? Would that be so bad? So, thank y'all for tuning in. This is gonna be a short video. Not all of these videos are gonna be long, especially if I don't have a guest. If it's just me, they're not all meant to be like, you know, no speech and, like I said, politically correct. I just wanted to be like a natural ass dude, chick, butch queen, whatever. A natural ass person, you know, just shooting the shit with y'all, you know, and sharing and being that bit of an open book. Keep loving one another, support one another, lifting up one another. Remember, it's Pride. Give y'all brothers and sisters a pass.
Alright, y'all. Peace. Have a good evening. I'm about to eat me a little something, watch a little TV, a little movie before a bitch lay it down. And just a quick note, just in case if you're wondering, a bitch didn't film 2 videos in one day, bitch. I know I had this eye look and everything yesterday. I just wanted to see if a bitch could be consistent and give it to you one more again, because I like this color. So, I know some YouTubers be doing it. They be filming like 5 videos in one day, changing shirts, changing clothes, putting on accessories, putting on a different lip. Nah, I'm genuinely trying to do my shit daily. Okay?
So, thank y'all, and peace.
Been done had hers.